as we get closer to this game that various people have differing viewpoints of the relevance of the game, I think the one thing that can't be debated is the development of young players, and to put them on the field against a legitimate opponent that's coming off a great season that is most likely, from everything I understand, going to show up near full strength. So this is not an opt-out situation with a watered-down team. So they're facing a legitimate top 15 team that's going to be near full strength. Are there any particular players on either side of the ball that you're interested to see, or you think OU fans should be curious to see if they continue to progress and step up to this challenge?
Yeah, I think, Mark, there's a couple of key opt-outs for Oklahoma. Eric Gray, being one on the offensive side of the ball, was a key, obviously, contributor for Oklahoma as the number one running back for the bulk of the season, got the bulk of the carries. So you look at probably a combination of Jovantae Barnes and Marcus Major getting the load there. I think coming into next year, Mark, you've got to look at Jovantae Barnes as potentially being your lead back. They've got a couple of guys coming in, but I think he's probably going to be that guy. Gavin Sawchuk is another kid. Didn't play a whole lot this year. Could potentially get some snaps. With that depth depleted a little bit. Just the receiving core in general, I think, will be interesting. Theo Weiss has hit the transfer portal, although in this day and age, this was a little bit. I know some coaches are allowing their kids to continue to play in bowl games if they haven't found a destination, although that's not necessarily the case for Theo Weiss because he's going to Missouri. But that's just another intricacy that's very strange as part of the whole transfer portal opt-out situation thing. So I think just the receiving core being a little bit thinner there with Drake Stoops and Marvin Mims, who is still going to play and has not yet made his determination on what he's going to do next year, whether to return to Oklahoma or decide to go into the NFL and test that status. And then I think the other thing is the left tackle Anton Harrison is he's decided he's going to opt out. He's put his name in for the NFL draft, and look at what Oklahoma has from a from a tackle perspective. Tyler Guyton will probably be a guy that will get some snaps there. But I think, Mark, to your original point, I think the best thing about Oklahoma getting this opportunity to get to a bowl game was the fact that you get these practices for a lot of these younger kids that otherwise wouldn't necessarily get kind of the level of reps that that they get towards the the regular season, particularly the end of the season, that is just invaluable for their development as they go forward.
The one player that I recall, and this may have happened elsewhere, but the only one I remember being publicized last season that stuck around to play for his current team, even though he had announced that he was entering the transfer portal last year, was Florida quarterback Emory Jones. Mm-hmm. And you got to think, if the player is strictly thinking business, now there may be a commitment factor there that they feel obligated and feel like, okay, even though I've decided to hit the transfer portal for next season and I want to finish out with my team and I want to complete the entire season, and that's admirable. I would think that it's an indication of how many players hit the transfer portal thinking and knowing, whether that's Caleb Williams or Dominic Levet, the Missouri wide receiver that kind of opened up the spot for Theo Weiss. He was third in the SEC in receiving. He knows he's got a spot somewhere at a big time school. Whether the leverage is on the player side or on the school side as to whether they're hitting the transfer portal and are going to be able to basically just field their options, or they're going to be doing their search to try to find a place and they need an extra audition. I believe I heard that the Coastal Carolina quarterback, Grayson McCall, who is transferring, he's also going to start for his team. I would think that he would be pretty secure knowing that he was going to land somewhere, and he wouldn't need that additional game to prove anything. He's thrown for a zillion touchdowns, and he's been a 3-year starter, but he's going to play for his team. So I like it. It is kind of strange to knowing that, okay, I'm going to play this last game with you, and I'm not going to the NFL. I'm going to be playing for somebody else next season. But that's
Yeah,
a
it's just a different yeah, no, you're right. It's a different dynamic, and I agree with your thought process that I, kind of, generally speaking, it's a little strange, but I with you like it the fact that I mean, if you relate it to the real world, you put your 2 weeks notice in, 'cause, you're getting another position. You're going to try to do everything that you can to finish what you started there, within that job, that role, that organization before you move on to somewhere else. So it's very, I think, transferable here, but just something we haven't really seen as much of. Um, and I mean, some of these like Grayson McCall's a great example. Yeah, he's moving on, but um, he had said that he was gonna finish what he started in the bowl game. And then you've got the other dynamic where some of these kids have decided that they were gonna hit the transfer portal and then decided to come back, and now they're re I mean, Austin Reed is a good example for Western Kentucky. Had hit the portal and then decided a couple of days ago that he's gonna come back, and certainly he'll play in the bowl game and give them an extra benefit for them, which I mean is very. I think the other part of this, I think, is just I mean just from a fun perspective, like it's so incredibly difficult to pick these bowl games because number one, you don't know who's opting out. So, I mean, you got an idea, but then as it comes closer to the game time, you learn more and more some of the kids that are opting out and some of them that are coming back, and what the mindset is. So I think it's the people that are able to handicap this at a high level. Whether it's straight up or even against obviously against the spread, or even straight up, it's very difficult for some of these other bowl games just to get an idea of what that mentality is. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's good. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for the programs, and to allow and the player to come back and finish what they started.